Today we'll be discussing with the space diplomacy. We'll be covering various important aspects like South Asia satellite and other major space diplomacy initiatives of India, and then we'll be taking a look at the India-China space race or the Chinese space diplomacy also. Then there is an organization called the Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. The father of Indian space program, Vikram Sarabhai, once said that if we are to play a greater role internationally, then we should try to focus on using advanced sciences to solve the problems of common man. The idea of space diplomacy is based on the belief that space programs have very practical diplomatic and economic functions here on Earth itself. So basically, space diplomacy is all about reaping those practical diplomatic and economic benefits of space technology. Now, Cold War was the beginning of the space diplomacy. In the Cold War time period, basically space was mainly used as a demonstration of power. The Soviet Union became the first country to put a man-made satellite into orbit. But then the United States again challenged it by being the first country to put man on the moon. So there was a vicious competition between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War era on the space arena. And anyway, recently, when the Narendra Modi government came into power, India has focused a lot on space and nuclear diplomacy also, and this mainly was kickstarted with the South Asia satellite. Basically, the idea of South Asia satellite comes from a SAARC summit which was held in November 2014 at Kathmandu in Nepal. This was the 18th SAARC summit, and in that 18th SAARC summit, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a gift to all the SAARC countries, and this was basically India's plan to launch a SAARC satellite in the next 2 years for the South Asian region. And this will be providing communication services free of charge to all SAARC nations. But Pakistan was afraid that India might use the SAARC satellite initiative to steal some sensitive data from Pakistan, and Pakistan decided to opt out of that particular initiative. So anyway, we launched the satellite without Pakistan. In May 2017, ISRO successfully launched the South Asia satellite. So now you can't name it SAARC satellite, so we basically renamed it into South Asia satellite, and this was India's 450 crore gift to its neighbors. So this will be providing a lot of benefits to all the SAARC countries except Pakistan. Basically, this was a SAARC minus Pakistan initiative. So these countries can now utilize broadcast services like direct TV, telemedicine, and again they can augment their banking networks by using the South Asia satellite. And this had a huge impact on South Asia. Most of the South Asian leaders unanimously applauded this initiative by India, and many of them even commented that India should come out with more and more such initiatives that will strengthen the regional integration within SAARC. Then in addition to the South Asia satellite, in the past also India had several space diplomacy initiatives. Like for example, in 2001, ISRO established the India-Myanmar Friendship Center for Remote Sensing. It was done way back in 2001. Then again, ISRO telemetry tracking and command network basically operates in 3 countries: Brunei, Indonesia, and Mauritius. Then again, we have made several MOUs or agreements on space cooperation with various nations like Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Indonesia, and then again we have various MOUs on space with almost all of the neighborhood countries. Then in 2012, the heads of the space agencies from the ASEAN countries met with ISRO officials, and they negotiated that ISRO should help these ASEAN countries in establishing their own space agencies and all. So this space diplomacy, basically this presents a huge opportunity. There is a potential for space revenue, as well as there is a possibility of establishing strategic partnership with different countries. Now we are actively trying for establishing a strategic partnership with the ASEAN countries, especially with the Mekong countries and all, and space diplomacy will be a key factor in that sort of a partnership between India and ASEAN countries. Now let us talk about the Chinese space diplomacy. Now China has again started the space diplomacy way ahead of India, and the Chinese idea of diplomacy, Chinese idea of space diplomacy mainly focuses on two things: improving the diplomatic influence of China as well as promoting the future commercial initiative of the Chinese government, like the Belt and Road Initiative, by using space cooperation. So China have made partnership with Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and it is helping them in launching communication satellites. Then again, it has made several agreements with most of the other South Asian countries like Maldives, Bangladesh, Nepal and all, again in assisting them with space technology. And again, in addition to India and China, again European countries have been trying to do space diplomacy in South Asia also. For example, Bangladesh, like recently, it planned to launch its own satellite called Bangabandhu 1, and this was made in collaboration with a European aerospace manufacturer. Then China, Pakistan and a number of other countries like Turkey have set up an organization called the Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. And now this organization, it does a lot of projects in areas like sharing data, establishing space communication network, and tracking space objects, etc. And one thing that really alarmed the security experts in India was that Pakistan has been made a huge diplomatic development with China recently. China offered Pakistan military grade positioning and navigation signals through its Beidou system. And this is going to be a massive security issue for India. Then again, when it comes to the Belt and Road Initiative, China is offering communication satellites and related technology to the above countries. And this will be a major setback or a major alternative for India's space diplomacy. So there is a huge space race between India and China right now, and this is for regional diplomatic influence. And the race has just started, and it is no longer about who gets there first or who implements or who brings out a new technology first, but this is basically all about who can offer cost-effective space technology for the future commercial benefits.